Of all the ghosts you imagine might haunt your marriage, your own brother is never one of them. You picture villains from outside your sacred circle, a charismatic boss, a handsome stranger at a bar, a rekindled old flame. You never, ever picture the boy you grew up with, the man who stood beside you as your best man, his smile as wide as yours. My brother, Leo, is 2 years younger than me. He's the charming one, the easy one, while I was serious and steady, building a construction business from the ground up. Leo was the whirlwind bouncing between jobs, charming his way through life, always landing on his feet. He was the fun uncle to my kids, the brother-in-law my wife, Chloe, treated like a mischievous younger sibling. They had inside jokes, a shared love for trashy reality TV, and a casual, playful rapport I never once saw as a threat. It was just them. It was family. The first crack in my reality appeared on a Tuesday. It was my daughter Lily's 7th birthday. Leo was there, of course, making everyone laugh as he magically pulled coins from behind Lily's ears. Chloe was buzzing around, the perfect hostess, her eyes sparkling. I remember watching them for a moment, Chloe handing Leo a slice of cake, their fingers brushing. It was nothing. A stranger wouldn't have noticed. But it was the way Leo's gaze lingered on her, a split second of unguarded intensity, and the faint, almost imperceptible flush on Chloe's cheeks. A cold knot formed in my stomach. I dismissed it as paranoia, a bitter cocktail of stress from work and lack of sleep. But once you see a crack, you can't unsee it. You start looking for others. I noticed how Chloe's phone, once left casually on the counter, was now always in her pocket or face down. She started having girls' nights more often, but when I'd ask which friend she was with the next morning, her answers were vague. The real tell was Leo. He'd started coming over less, yet somehow, he and Chloe seemed more connected than ever. They were in the same fantasy football league. They text about shows. It was all plausible, all easily explained. But the easy explanations didn't soothe the cold knot in my gut. They just made it tighter. The proof I didn't want came from the most mundane of sources, our shared family cloud account. I was looking for a photo of my late grandfather for a project. I was scrolling through years of memories, birthdays, vacations, Christmases when I found a folder I didn't recognize. It was titled Projects. Curious, I clicked on it. It wasn't filled with architectural plans or work documents. It was filled with photos, dozens of them, selfies of Chloe and Leo. Not the fun, goofy pictures I was used to, but intimate, secret photos. Them in a car, her head on his shoulder. Them in a dimly lit bar, his arm wrapped tightly around her waist. Her wearing his jacket. The final picture was the one that shattered me. It was a selfie of them in bed. There was no doubt about the location. I recognized the unique, swirling grain of the antique headboard. It was the bed in our guest room. A picture of them, together, in my house. The timestamp was from 3 weeks ago. A night Chloe had told me she was having a quiet night in with a book because I was working late to finish a bid. Leo had texted me that same night, saying he was stuck at home, bored out of his mind. The coordination, the sheer audacity of their lies, was breathtaking. Rage is too simple a word for what I felt. It was a seismic event that leveled every belief I held about family, loyalty, and love. I didn't confront them. Not yet. The betrayal was so profound, so monstrous, that a simple, screaming match felt inadequate. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed to stand in the wreckage and feel the full force of the impact. The Reddit cheating tales that flashed through my mind were always about grand plans, about exposing the cheaters in a blaze of glory. My plan was simpler and uglier. I told Chloe I had to go out of town for a night, a last-minute emergency at a job site 2 hours away. It was the easiest lie I've ever told. She helped me pack, kissing me sweetly at the door, her eyes full of feigned sympathy. "Be safe, honey," she said. I drove 10 minutes down the road to a coffee shop and waited. I watched our house on the Security camera app on my phone. An hour after I left, Leo's beat-up Ford Ranger pulled into our driveway. He walked in the front door without knocking. I drove home, my heart a cold, dead stone in my chest. I parked down the street and walked, using the key I knew they wouldn't expect me to use. I slipped inside, the house eerily quiet. The living room was empty, the kitchen was clean. The only sound was the faint murmur of the television coming from upstairs, from our bedroom. Every step I took up those stairs was a step away from the life I knew. The murmur became voices, then laughter, her laugh, his laugh. Together. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. I didn't need to push it open, I could see them. Chloe was in her robe, sitting on the edge of our bed. Leo was standing in front of her, telling a story, his hands animated. He reached out and tucked a stray piece of her hair behind her ear. She leaned into his touch. The gesture was so tender, so intimate, it was like watching a scene from a movie about someone else's life. I pushed the door open, the laughter died in their throats. The blood drained from their faces, replaced by a ghastly, gray shock. They looked like two deer caught in the headlights of a semi-truck, frozen in their guilt. Chloe scrambled backwards on the bed, pulling her robe tighter. Leo just stood there, his mouth slightly agape, his hands frozen in mid-air. Silence, a thick, suffocating silence that lasted an eternity. "Get out," I said. My voice didn't sound like my own. It was flat, devoid of emotion, like the voice of a stranger. Leo, to his credit, didn't make excuses. He just looked at me, his eyes filled with a shame so deep it was bottomless. He turned and walked out of the room, not looking back. I heard his heavy footsteps on the stairs, the front door opening and closing. Then I was alone with my wife. The woman I had loved since I was 20 years old. The mother of my children. The ensuing conversation wasn't a fight, it was an autopsy, a clinical examination of a dead thing. She wept, she confessed, she said all the words people in her position say. It started 6 months ago. It was a mistake. She felt lost. She didn't know how it happened. But the reasons didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the image burned onto my retina, my wife and my brother, together, in the heart of my life. The aftermath has been a quiet, relentless demolition. Chloe moved out. My kids, confused and heartbroken, split there. Time between two broken homes. My relationship with my parents is fractured, caught in the impossible crossfire between their two sons. Leo has tried to contact me. Voicemails, texts, even a handwritten letter. I've deleted them all. How do you forgive a betrayal that rewrites your entire childhood? He wasn't just a man who slept with my wife. He was the boy who shared my room, who I protected from bullies, who I taught to ride a bike. He didn't just break a vow. He broke a history. Sometimes, late at night, I scroll through those dark corners of Reddit, reading the stories of others. I see my pain mirrored in the posts of strangers. They talk about red flags, about gaslighting, about the moment of discovery. But none of them fully capture the unique horror of looking at the person who betrayed you and seeing your own eyes, your own blood, your own past, staring back. You don't just lose a wife, you lose a brother, you lose yourself.